What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into a live edition of the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, breaking everything down just 8 days away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft. So we have a lot of rumors to get to as we get some leakage, some spills, some crumbs, and I want to share everything I know with you guys. But before we get to all that good stuff, I know not everyone is punctual. I'm an on-time person. Reed, were you an on-time person for class, or were you like the guy that walked in 30 seconds after class started and everyone had to stop? You were on time. I was on time. So while we let the latecomers get to our live show, shout out your city for me in the chat. Let me know where you are tuning in from. Levi Mayfield is here. Bruh, do a dog bowl. No dog bowls today. Laying off the sauce, trying to really get the calorie count down a little bit. But dog bowls will be in the future. As Levi is in Rock Creek, Ohio, Roy is tuning in from Berlin. Roy, can I tell you a funny story? You might not find it very funny, but the rest of us might find it funny. So I've got an older cousin who lives in Frankfurt, and I send him letters. He sends me postcards, and I was in New Orleans this past weekend for my bachelor party. And if you know the host a little bit, you might know that I love history. So what did I do? I dragged everyone with me to the World War II Museum, and I have no regrets about it. Half of the group went to the museum bar like an hour in. I spent 3.5 hours, and I still wanted to be there longer. But at the gift store, I did get a postcard for my cousin in Germany. So I like to think that the German postman is going to have this World War II Museum postcard in his route. And he may not like looking at the front of it too much because it's all about conquering Berlin. So sorry about that, Roy. But everyone else, I thought that was kind of funny. All right, we got Jarrett here in Ohio. Poop, Scoop, and Boogie is in Missouri. Michael's in Daytona Beach. Helena, Montana's in the house. Josh is in Michigan. Continue to shout out your city for me in the chat. We've got some good coverage to get to. But first things first, quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. Over at Game Time, you can save on last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. So if you want to go see the Cavs, or you want to go to a Guardians game, or any other sporting event in your area, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we've got over 50 people tuned in right now. A super chat here as well. And Reed has a question that's a great one for everyone watching. Will the Cleveland Cavaliers, the number one team in the Eastern Conference, win the 2025 NBA championship? Yes or no? I put a future on the Cavs back in January, which I won't say that to stick my chest out as what a hot take by me in January. I thought I just had a whole bunch of bonus money, and I was like, oh, this is fake money. Turns out it was real. So I put $100 real down on the Cavs to win it all, which I thought was just like the layover, the bonus bets you get and things like that. Nope, I got my apps confused. And so I'm really all in on the Cavs right now because I've got a lot riding on it. But we got Josh with a $2 super chat before we get into our first segment. 2025 draft sleeper, Dante Thornton Jr. Oh, Dante. Know him all too well. Tennessee wide receiver. He is a speed demon. He knows one route, and it's straight and fast. His average, reception is over 20 yards. So people look at the numbers and go, he's a big play machine, right? He's a home run waiting to happen. What the average doesn't tell you is how many times he either dropped the ball or how many times he just only knew one route. He does not have an extensive route tree. If you want to take a speed demon in round 5 or 6, sure thing. Anything before that, no thank you. But I do love the sleeper take, Josh, because it's always fun to stick your neck out there for a day 3 guy. All right. Should we get into our first segment here? We've got a lot of good content to get to on our live show today. I know we're a little bit early, but I like to think the earlier the better for a lot of people, because 5 p.m. Eastern is when people are kind of getting off work. So this is trying to make everyone's schedules a little bit better. But some news and rumors on the draft front. Then I thought we could take some time to look at targets for pick 33, given that we've spent so much time talking about pick number 2. Pick 33 is a very valuable selection as well. So let's give some eyeballs and attention over to that number. And then that mailbag, like we always have, coming up at the end of the show. So be like Josh, super chat, get on screen for everyone watching to see. If you can't super chat, that's never a problem. Just use hashtag Browns, and producer Reed picks his favorite questions to throw on screen for everyone watching to see. So this is what we have on tap for you guys today. Are we ready to jump into our first segment, which is about Shedeur Sanders and some of the draft rumors out there? Some good content that I want to share with all of you. 62 people tuned in. We have 20 likes. Do me a big favor. Click that thumbs up button if you haven't yet. And I'm ready to get this plane off the ground if you guys are ready. Reed wants to get to 25 likes. We're 4 likes away. Can we get 4 more people to like the video? And then I'm going to tell you all of the latest on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns leading up to the draft. There we go. Okay, I didn't scare Roy off with my World War II story, so we're good to jump into our show as Matthew's tuning in from New Jersey. Jorge is in Puerto Rico. I learned Hassan Whiteside is playing in the Puerto Rican Basketball League, and he is fat. So we got to get him on the pure veggie diet. Graham, you put a space in between hashtag and Browns. You got to delete that space. So hashtag Browns. Luke with a $5 super chat. You know what? Let's save Luke's super chat for after this next segment. Luke, I don't want to give you blue balls, but this is a very good question. I don't want to rush it, so we'll include it in our mailbag as well. But Luke appreciates you for supporting the channel. All right, here we go. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders. On today's episode, I want to share a new report that came out from Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns, because for a while there, it was looking like Shedeur would be the pick at number 2, at least going into the combine and coming out of it. Now, then we transitioned like in the Browns pre-draft life cycle from Shedeur Sanders to Abdul Carter to Travis Hunter. And right now we're all over Travis Hunter. But let's not forget about the first love the Browns had reportedly in the pre-draft process, Shedeur. Now here's what Albert Breer recently wrote. I don't think Sanders is going in the top 3. And at this point, it feels like it'd be surprising if the Las Vegas Raiders, New York Jets, or Saints took him in the top 10. I've had more than one person say to me, if Shedeur goes in the first round, it'll be because an owner got involved. Let's break this down because there are some really good, juicy nuggets coming out of that quote right there. One, this has kind of been the thing I've been preaching for the last 6-7 weeks, that it felt more likely Shedeur would go closer to pick 32 than pick number 1. And I think people, as we get closer to the draft, are starting to come to reality, which is he was never really perceived as an incredible first-round talent. It's just the quarterback in a bad quarterback class with a really good pedigree being Deion Sanders' son. And you put that all together, and you get the perfect storm of quarterback-needy teams in a bad quarterback class are going to give Shedeur Sanders the benefit of the doubt. And as we get closer to the draft, I don't think there's really many GMs out there that feel in their core that is someone I think is worth a top 10 draft pick. So Shedeur's stock dropping, that's not a surprise to me. And if you watch the channel, it really shouldn't be any new information to you. Now, the one part of it that I do want to extrapolate on for a moment is the owner meddling part. Because if you know Jimmy Haslam, you know this is something that's up his alley. He once let a homeless man tell him to take Johnny Manziel in the first round. So that was a decade ago. I think that Haslam has grown as an owner and is much more hands-off. than he was at the start of his time with the Browns. However, with the new stadium in the mix here, he needs to get butts in seats. He needs to sell jerseys. He needs to turn a profit because he's putting over $1 billion of his own money into this new stadium. And he needs fans to get season tickets for that new stadium. And there's nothing that sells more instantly than a quarterback. Long-term success, not necessarily. But if you want to have an immediate, jersey-selling, name-popping selection, it's a quarterback. And that's not up for debate. So that could be where Jimmy Haslam meddles a little bit. I don't think that meddling will come at pick number 2, but maybe later on. But that's kind of my overarching just belief and thought here. And I wanted you guys to leave today's video with at least this one thought. If you don't like Shedeur Sanders at pick number 2, do you like him enough to trade back into round 1 for him? I don't think that's a good philosophy to have. Hey, we don't like him enough to use the 2nd overall pick, but we do like him enough to give up future draft capital to get him back in round 1, but we don't like him enough to not risk the possibility of him falling to us in the later stages of round 1. That to me is way too convoluted. If you like him, go draft him. If you don't like him, then don't give up draft capital to go get him in round number 1. It's too valuable of a position to go, let's wait and see. You want to wait and see if a wide receiver could fall to you. You don't wait and see if he slips past the Saints at number 9 and the Steelers at 21 and you go get him at 25 or 26. No. If he's your guy, then go get him at pick number 2. If he's not your guy and you're comfortable with letting him slip past pick number 2, then don't give up future draft capital and valuable assets to get him later on in round 1. That to me is the just general consent, or not general consensus. That to me is the, the theory and the thesis I'm working with when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks and specifically Shedeur Sanders in this case. If he's your guy, then don't mess around with it. Sure, it may not be a super popular opinion in the moment, but, there were a lot of picks that weren't popular in the moment, and they aged just fine. But I don't like the idea of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We like him enough to trade back into round 1, but we don't like him enough to get him at number 2, but we're comfortable with letting him potentially get picked by a different team, so we're just going to wait and see if he falls a little bit. So there's my 50, 67, 80 cents on the whole subject. Some background on Shedeur, though, as a player in general. 6'1", 212 pounds. The crazy thing about Shedeur is he's Deion Sanders' son, but what's one of the biggest cons that come up about him? He's not athletic enough. How the hell does Deion Sanders produce a son that's biggest knock going into his NFL draft day is the guy's not athletic enough? That to me is just mind-boggling. But it is true because he doesn't have the greatest maneuverability. Is that even a word? Maneuverability? Yeah. And pocket skills to bail out. And what I mean by that is he takes a lot of sacks, which you can blame a lot of that on the offensive line. But when pressure comes to him, he tends to retreat. And in college football, you can kind of get away with that because you might be able to run around a defensive end. But in the NFL, if you're not fast enough to retreat and get around a defensive end, like, say, Lamar Jackson, then you're going to end up taking a 15-yard sack instead of an 8-yard sack. And that is the difference between second and bad versus second and this drive is over, and there's no coming back from it. So, would you trade up for Shedeur Sanders? Personally, I'm not that interested. Unless you can find a way to trade up and not give up a whole lot for him, and you just go from 33 to 32, and you give up a 5th or 6th round draft pick just to get the 5th-year option on him, cool. Going from 33 to 20, 22, 23, and giving up potentially 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round draft picks, now I think that's too big of an investment for a player that you didn't like enough at number 2, and you were willing to risk not even having him there at 22. Now, if you don't trade up for Shedeur Sanders, the name that I would toss out there as a real contender for the Browns to land on is Jackson Dart. because he appears to be really coming into focus for the Browns, and I want to spend more time on Jackson Dart as we get closer to the NFL draft. Now, before we do a deeper dive on the Ole Miss quarterback, I do want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard to get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. If you want to go watch the Cavs, or you want to go to a Guardians game, or any other sporting event in your area, make sure to visit Game Time first because they've got awesome deals for the dog pound. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's talk about Dart, and I want to put him on your radar a little bit more because I think this is a good chance that the Browns pursue him in rounds 2 of the NFL draft. Here, we'll just quickly fix this right now. We'll fix it. You guys get to see how the sausage is made. Sorry. Slight typo on my end, and Reed's going to fix it during our live show. But then when we publish this as a video, it's nice and pretty. So you might already spot the mistake I made. 3, 2, 1, 0. Sorry, you guys get to see behind the scenes in real time. Bingo. Let's talk about Jackson Dart, the USC transfer to Ole Miss quarterback who had a really great career at Oxford. I mean, he holds a bunch of records for the Rebels. Total wins, I thought that would go to like Eli Manning. No, he broke all those records at Ole Miss. But I'm bringing up Dart because I think he actually fits a little bit better for what Kevin Stefanski's offense would call for. Not that Shedeur doesn't fit it, but the thing that I read in Albert Breer's article that really jumped out to me is, well, Jackson Dart, I'm not going to pass him off as this great, perfect prospect. I've got my fair share of concerns with him. But something that jumps out to me about Dart that I think could really resonate well with Cleveland is that the tools and the skill set that he showcased could be very transferable to the NFL. Let me give you a specific example. Dart, when pressure arrived at Ole Miss, would climb up in the pocket. Shedeur took 99 sacks, in part because of the offensive line, and 99 sacks over 2 years, in part because of the offensive line, but also in part because when shit hit the fan, Shedeur bailed out of the pocket. And in college, you could be able to, use your speed to run around and evade defenders. In the NFL, Shedeur Sanders is not evading guys like Myles Garrett. However, Dart, I think, showed NFL scouts a willingness to stick in the pocket a little bit more and step up and not take those big losses, those huge negative plays. And so when you look at the big cons for Jackson Dart, I mean, we're talking about someone who's got some decision-making problems. That Florida game was just crippling, and I can't seem to get past it, and that's why I'm not beating the Jackson Dart drum, because he threw 2 interceptions, back-to-back plays, with a playoff spot in the balance. And you want quarterbacks who, shine the brightest when the lights are on. And Dart didn't show me that when that was the situation last year for Ole Miss. At home against Kentucky, a loss. And then at home, right, or on the road, on the road against Florida, a bad Florida team. So those are things that have to be cleaned up. But if those are the things that have to be cleaned up, that seems like something a coaching staff is willing to bet on in round 2 or 3 of the draft, which is where I think the Browns could find Dart. I don't think the Browns are going to be as aggressive to find a quarterback in round 1 as some people will like to think they will be, just given the need they have at quarterback. If they do, I don't think it's going to be this blockbuster trade-up. I think this could be a rough idea for what the Browns would be comfortable doing in order to move back into round 1. not to necessarily get the player of their choice, but to get the fifth-year option on that quarterback. So what about making a deal with the Buffalo Bills? Go from 33 up to 30, and you give Buffalo a future fourth-round draft pick. This to me is not, hey, we want to make sure no one else gets Jackson Dart. This is, hey, we want to make sure we get Jackson Dart in the fifth-year option. It could even be going from 33 to 32. The Carolina Panthers did that last year to get Xavier Legette. So my working kind of theory and prediction is you start Joe Flacco until you can't, until the wheels really fall off on your 40-year-old quarterback, and then Jackson Dart gets a swing at it. I don't think he is ready to start week one. I think he has to learn a lot about reading defenses and getting to the line of scrimmage and post-snap decision-making and probably some pre-snap decision-making as well, given the offense he played in at Ole Miss was heavy RPO. And so we're not talking about reading a lot of, DBs when it comes to going through your progressions, but just reading defensive ends and deciding what you want to do. And I think that stuff just comes with time. And so give him the opportunity to sit and learn behind Pickett and Flacco, two guys who have been in the league for a good amount of time now. Flacco more so than Pickett. And if Flacco shows you he just can't play anymore at his age, then you give Jackson Dart an opportunity for the last couple of weeks of the year, like Michael Penix did with the Falcons. Before we sign off, if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you go ahead and do so. And if you are already subscribed, I'd love to hear when you join the channel. So scroll on down, give me a date if you've been subscribed for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And if you're not, make sure to click that sub button before Thursday night. Now let's pick a card to get you guys on your way. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Reed? Reed says 9 of clubs. I'm going to go with 5 of clubs. Back-to-back. 4 of spades. Damn. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see everyone later. We got to fix that typo. Yeah. Okay. 100 people tuned in right now. Greatly appreciate everyone for taking time out of their Wednesday to watch our content. I saw we got a super chat from Joseph in the chat, from P. Diddy is here, from Poop Scoop and Boogie, from Tony Romo. So let's hit a couple of these super chats, and then we'll jump into segment number 2, which is all about draft targets for Cleveland at pick 33. But the big takeaway I wanted from that last video was, if you like Shedeur enough to trade back to round 1 for him, you should like him enough to get him at number 2, given how important the quarterback position is. If you like him that much, would you really risk him not falling to you in the 20s where you'd want to trade up for him? Quarterback is too valuable of a position to go, we like him enough that we hope he's there at 20, but we don't like him enough to go at 2, and we're willing to risk that someone takes him between 3 and 19, or 3 and 20, 3 and 21, wherever you'd feel comfortable trading up for him. Now, you don't mess around with a quarterback like that. If he's your guy, go get him. Luke, first one up. Do you think the Browns trade back or up in the with the second round pick? Luke, I'll give you a more detailed response in the mailbag so you kind of get your money's worth. But when talking about pick number 33, I think it is more likely that the Browns were to trade. I think it's more likely the Browns trade into round 1 than back from pick 33, but I still don't think it's going to be as deep into round 1 as maybe some other people have projected. Tony, Jim, I know I want Shedeur. I don't know, Jim. I thought Jim Nantz had a great call for Rory. The silence, it was terrific. Poop, are you guys doing a draft watch party? Yes, we are going to do a live stream for day 1 and 2 and possibly day 3. Day 3 will be dependent on how the first 2 days go from a metric standpoint, views, things like that. But yeah, we will be live for Thursday and Friday guarantee of the NFL draft next week. P. Diddy, who is Tyler Shuck? Never heard of the dude. I only heard of him back in January. I won't pretend that I watched a bunch of Louisville football and said, now that's a guy I could see taking 33rd overall. But he came on my radar when I think it was Kuiper. Someone tossed him in there and pretty high up in their quarterback rankings. And I was like, I don't know who this name is, and I don't know if I'm dumb for not knowing who this name is, but I should probably know who this is. So back in like mid-January, like after the regular season, I started to do some Tyler Shuck research. And the first thing I learned was you pronounce his name Shuck. And then I learned what a collegiate career he had, backing up Justin Herbert at Oregon, going to Texas Tech, 3 seasons with the Red Raiders where he got injured every single year, and then puts together one healthy campaign with Louisville where he put together a really strong showing in terms of his arm strength and the ability to make a bunch of difficult throws. And some coaches think he's got the pure best, like, release and flick of the wrist and the arm talent, all that stuff. But, man, does he have some lowlights. And there's a lot of bad clips out there where he looks like he is, like, doing a Three Stooges bit by himself. I'm not very high on him as a prospect. I don't think he's a round 1, 2, or probably even round 3 guy. I think he is just a result of the quarterback tax and the quarterback inflation we see pre-draft. I don't think he's going to go as early as some people believe he will. Joseph, if you knew the Browns were not going QB with pick 1 or 2, who would you want them taking with their top 2 picks? Yeah, rounds 1 and 2. Joseph, I love the question. I'm going to save my answer for the mailbag. Keep you guys on your toes a little bit. But great question, Joseph. Thank you very much. We've got AFX. Imagine losing your QB. Couple thoughts here, AFX. One, it's nice to see how everyone took Tennessee's side. That always kind of feels good when everyone's on your side, when it's a player versus school, player versus coach, whatever it may be. 2, this is a monumental moment in college football and it's something that I not on air talked about, but always told, my friends and coworkers when talking about the next age of NIL, there's going to be a school and a set of boosters that get burned on a quarterback they give or player millions of dollars to that does not live up to the billing. And then long term, those boosters don't want to give money again. That's my concern. It's not so much about the 2025 Tennessee football season without Nico. It is, are we not going to be able to get big-time recruits in the future? Because after Nico, flamed out, the local car dealership owners don't want to give lots of money for the next guy to flame out. But AFX, you say losing your quarterback as if, like, this wasn't something Tennessee did on their own accord. They released him. They cut him. Luke, I want a lineman for the 33rd pick. Luke, you're going to love this next segment then. I think you're going to get a good kick out of it. All right, here we go. Let's jump into segment number 2, which is all about draft targets for the Browns at pick 33. Let me just... Oh, did Tennessee just get a quarterback? I got a slack. Oh, no, never mind. It was a joke. It was that TCU's quarterback is not entering the portal, and the Tennessee might have wanted him. Okay. Here we go. Mailbag coming up in about 20 or so minutes, so get your questions in right now, #Browns. All those super chats with questions will be included as well, so if you want to guarantee your question, your take, your idea gets on screen, super chat like Luke, like Josh, like everyone else, and we'll throw it on for everyone watching to see. 120 people hanging out with us. Really appreciate all of you for making us a part of your day. Here we go. On today's episode, I want to focus on pick 33 for the Browns because the last 3 months have been dedicated to what to do at pick number 2. But pick 33 is a very valuable pick, and so I feel like we should probably spend a little bit more time on what the Browns could do to open up round number 2. Now, all the recent chatter has been on a quarterback being selected or that pick being used to get a quarterback in a possible trade. So let me just look at the quarterbacks really briefly, and then we'll go down the well of if they don't go quarterback, who else could they be looking at? Here are my 3 preferred quarterbacks in order at pick 33. Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck. Full transparency, I don't really like any of them. I don't view any of them as future NFL starters. I think Jackson Dart could be like a Gardner Minshew. I think Jalen Milroe and Tyler Shuck will be out of the league before their rookie contract is up. Sorry, but I don't view any of these guys as quarterbacks that are going to be leading a team out of the tunnel for the next decade. So if I had to pick one, I'd pick Dart because he's got really good arm strength. He's got good accuracy, good toughness. He's got sneaky good mobility. I know sneaky, buzzword for white quarterbacks, but there are some pros and cons to it, of course. The pre-snap and honestly post-snap decision-making is the biggest flaw I have with Dart, and it's why I've never been super high up on him as a prospect, at least not one that I would use a premium draft pick on. Pros, he does like to throw the ball down the field. He had an FBS leading 10.8 yards per attempt last year, so if you want someone who's got some aggressiveness to their game, that's Dart. Cons, when he does throw it down the field, it's a crapshoot if it's a good or bad decision to begin with. And there are one too many poor decisions for Dart for me to go, that is someone that I think is worth a very early premium draft pick. You want to use a late third or fourth round pick on a quarterback? All right. If it doesn't work out, that really should not derail your draft class. Missing out on pick 33, that could be tough to overcome. So between the two quarterbacks that have been mocked to the Browns the most, who would you rather have, Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe? I really want to go with option number 3, which is neither. One of the other 5 guys we're going to look at in today's episode. But gun to my head, I'd pick Dart. So now let's look at some of my dream targets at 33. These are guys that I, Matthew Peterson, want to see the Browns select. Coming in at number 5, I'm going to go with the Ohio State left tackle, Josh Simmons. So Buckeye fans, don't stand up all at once right now and flip the table over, but I do have a Buckeye on my list. A little bit of background on Simmons. He started off at San Diego State, played right tackle, transfers to Columbus, and he starts at left tackle for 2 years at OSU. Now, as we all should know by now, he unfortunately had a season-ending knee injury. It was a season-ending torn patella tendon in his left knee during the Oregon game. He expects to be ready to roll by rookie minicamp, and that's a very remarkable and very quick recovery. Injuries are major red flags for teams, and teams will do a lot of research on these medicals, and it could just straight up eliminate you from their big board. But if you do suffer an injury early in your career, that's the time to do it. Nick Chubb suffered a horrific knee injury in Georgia and was very good in the NFL. So I'm not too concerned about his ability to bounce back. He's young. He's going to rehab harder than ever before because he knows his livelihood depends on the start of his NFL career if he wants to get a good second contract. So the injury to me is not something that I'd cross him off my big board. I also want to just verbalize that left tackle for the Browns has been severely overlooked. We have spent so much of the offseason talking about which quarterback to get. And then who's better, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? And throughout all this, no one has given much attention to the fact that DeJuan Jones has had season-ending injuries in back-to-back years. Jack Conklin is playing on a new one-year contract, and he's had 3 major injuries in his NFL career. We should probably be spending a little bit more time looking at a new left tackle. Now, the unfortunate thing is it's not a very good tackle class, which is why Simmons comes in at number 5 on my list because he may not go round 1 at all. But if there is a guy that I could see slipping from 1 to 2 that I have a preference for, it would be Josh Simmons out of OSU. At number 4, I'm going to go with the Ole Miss defensive tackle, Walter Nolan. This is more of a best player available type pick. I think Nolan's just going to be an outstanding interior pass rusher at the next level. 6'3", 300 pounds. He's got a very unique football career path. He hopped around different high schools in Tennessee, goes to A&M, plays 2 years there, then gets a new opportunity at Ole Miss after Jimbo Fisher got fired. And with the Rebels last year, all he did was put up an All-American and first-team All-SEC kind of season. He led the team in terms of sacks from the interior with 6.5, and teams love defensive tackles that can get after the quarterback. Can you guys hear me or see me? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, I think I'm back. Are we back? Someone let me know if I'm talking to myself or if I'm talking to humans. Well, that really killed our viewership. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but shout out to the 39 of you that stuck around for a 5-minute Wi-Fi outage. I'm sorry. Sorry for wasting your time. All right, let's pick up where we were, shall we? We'll just pick up right here. I was thinking after the read. We're just gonna do it there. I know. Yeah. All right, let's pick up with number 3. I think we're at number 3. Yeah. Number 3. All right. My third dream target for the Browns at pick 33 is going to be, drum roll please, as soon as Reed's ready. My third dream target for the Browns at 33 is safety Malachi Starks. This one's a little bit out of left field, but try and stick with me because I think you might come around to my point of view by the time I finish talking about Starks. A little bit of background on the Georgia DB. One thing I like about him a lot is the versatility he offers. He played safety, he played nickel, and in an era where the nickel position continues to grow in importance, I don't think you can underestimate how valuable Starks would be on a team. He can play free safety, like I said, which I think he'll probably do mostly in the NFL. But with the way the Browns DBs played last year, I don't think it's a bad idea to invest in this room on the earlier side in this draft. Greg Newsome's going into a contract year, as is Martin Emerson. You've got Grant Delpit not coming off the strongest campaign a year ago. Rodney McLeod retired. You cut bait with Juan Thornhill. There are a lot more question marks in the secondary that I think we want to give credit for. So I think getting a versatile Swiss Army knife type DB like Malachi Starks, who I think at the next level, by the way, is going to be just a rock solid, dependable piece. I think it's someone that Jim Schwartz can just count on to know, hey, that is someone that's not going to be a liability for me. And how many times have the Browns safeties and corners had miscommunications? Malachi Starks was more like a linebacker for Georgia's defense a year ago. He was making sure all of his teammates were lined up correctly. Man, what a nice breath of fresh air that would be compared to Juan Thornhill, who was always either in the wrong position or in some kind of miscommunication with someone. So Starks may not scream like a great big need for the Browns, and safety's not one of the biggest important positions out there, but it was when the Browns lost to the Jets a few years ago, and it was a handful of times last year where guys were running wide open. You know where that did not happen? In Athens, Georgia last year, because Malachi Starks, since day one as a true freshman, walked onto that campus and started immediately. Started 42 straight games to wrap up his collegiate career. I feel like that could be a really fun pick for the future that may not seem like a huge need at the moment, but you're going to love having him on your team in a very quick amount of time. Now, if you enjoy our draft coverage, show me by liking today's video. It would really go a long way to boost the channel, get more eyeballs here, allow us to grow as a channel. So if you can go ahead and like the video if you haven't yet, I would really appreciate it. At number 2 now, I've got UNC running back Omarion Hampton. I'm going to use number 2 and spoiler number 1 as my propaganda machine to push running back at pick 33. The Browns should be way more interested in some of these backs than the rumors have indicated so far leading up to the draft. Hampton last year for the Tar Heels, 1,600 yards, 15 touchdowns for a second straight year, and nearly 6 yards a carry. He can play in all 3 downs. He's good out of the backfield as a receiving threat as well. 38 grabs, which isn't a huge number, but in college football, your quarterback rarely gets to the 4th read, which is often the running back, right? Usually it's 2 or 3 receivers, a tight end, and then the back. So for him to get to 38 receptions, I think speaks volumes to the receiving ability he brings to the team. But the reason why I'm using Hampton as my number 2 player is the rare combination of size and speed. Every draft we hear a couple of buzzwords: size and speed, twitchiness. That's a good one too, right? This is no exaggeration though. Hampton is 6 foot, 221 pounds, and at the NFL Combine ran a 4.46 40-yard dash. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a rarity to find that level of speed with that size. And it kind of reminds me of a certain running back who plays for the Cleveland Browns and wears number 24. In fact, Hampton is in a very small club of running backs over the last 10 years who weighed over 220 pounds at the Combine and ran a sub 4.5 40-yard dash. Other members of this club: Quinshon Judkins, Isaac Guerrero was a day 3 pick last year by the 49ers, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott. Not bad company to be in. These guys just do not enter the draft every single year. In fact, the only reason why I think Hampton could be in consideration at pick 33 is because this other running back you might have heard of named Ashton Genty is also in this draft class. If not for Genty, I think Hampton would be a lock for the top 15. But he's going to fall a little bit because not too often we see multiple running backs go in the first round. And running back is a position that I feel like is being forgotten right now by the Browns. Show of hands, who does not want Jerome Ford leading this team for 17 games next year? I would never say that to Jerome Ford's face because I'm a coward, but on YouTube I will. The Browns should look to upgrade at running back. And maybe that's the plan in round 3, but I would not be upset if it gets accomplished in round 2 and you go get someone like Omarion Hampton. Or Iowa's and Ohio native Caleb Johnson. The Buckeyes didn't make him an offer. Sure, that's something they led to regret. But in Iowa, he was a monster running back his final season. 6'1", 224 pounds. So similar size as Hampton, but a little bit slower. Ran a 4.57 40-yard dash. When you throw the tape on, he runs way faster than what that number indicates, right? There's pad speed and there's underwear speed. I care more about pad speed. The difference is that it's not just pads and underwear. It's also, when you got the ball in your hands, do you run with full confidence like you did in February in Indianapolis? Or do you maybe pull back a little bit because it's not quite the same when you're running just straight on the sideline of Lucas Oil versus you're running through a defender and you got that timidness to not go full speed. But Johnson last year, I want to point out a couple of things to you guys. One, he averaged 6 yards a carry. Keep in mind, that was 6 yards a carry in an offense that ranked bottom 5 in pass attempts. So what did that mean for Johnson? It meant he faced stacked and loaded boxes on first, second, and third down. The opposing team knew they weren't going to throw it. They knew they'd run it. And despite the defense knowing what the offense's game plan was, he still churned out an awesome season. 21 touchdowns, 1,500 yards. And he wasn't just like this goal line merchant, by the way. He rattled off some really nice long runs. Now, he may not have the top home run speed. I remember that same criticism given to Nick Chubb. And then I remember the Raiders game in his rookie campaign, where he laughed at people that said he's not quite fast enough. Listen, he's fast enough when the pads are on for me. And the way I like to look at it is, if I've got 2 different running backs, running back A, running back B. Running back A on 3rd and 4 is going to get the first down 9 out of 10 times. Running back B is going to give me a 70-yard touchdown run every 4 weeks. I'd rather have running back A. I'd rather have the guy that I feel more confident in to move the chains and keep the offense on the field than the occasional home run hitter. It's also just kind of the way I look at baseball, right? Do you want someone who every so often gets a home run but has a bunch of strikeouts? Or do you like a good contact hitter who, can still get some pop? That's Johnson in my eyes. So either him or Hampton, I think, would be awesome picks for the Browns at pick 33 to unfortunately find their new franchise running back. All right, let me know who your dream draft pick is down below in the comment section for the first pick in round number 2. Let's pick a card to wrap up today's show. Reed, tell me which card you'd like to get. Reed says Jack of Hearts. I'm going to go with King of Hearts. Changing it? Queen of Clubs? No, 5 of Clubs. 5 of Clubs. Thank you all so much for watching. Really appreciate your support of the channel. We're going to sign off and see everyone later. Who is your dream target at pick number 33? Let me know. We have a mailbag coming up next. So if you have any questions, use hashtag Browns or Super Chat. And if you Super Chat, you skip the line. We guarantee it gets on screen for everyone watching to see. We'll hit all those Super Chats we got earlier in the mailbag as well. Don't worry, you are grandfathered in. He's him with a $2 Super Chat. We'll throw that on for you in just a moment. But I'm looking for some dream draft picks at 33. One of those 5 guys, someone else left off my list. Don't be a stranger. Get in the chat. Let me know. Yes, we did. No, we did not. The first 4 picks should be Travis Hunter, quarterback or left tackle, running back or tight end. Let me give you a more in-depth response, Scott, during the mailbag. But surface level, I think you got some good pieces right here. He's him. Petey, are you a believer in Jesus Christ? This sounds like the opening line from the Book of Mormon. So, I am a Roman Catholic. I'm not very devout like Christian, though. I used to be like a big churchgoer growing up. My family was a big churchgoer. And then once I got to college, I was like, now I'm no longer forced to go. And that just kind of became the habit. So I guess I would be a creaster, but I used to make fun of creasters. And now I've lived long enough to become, what's the expression? Either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. I'm the villain. Yeah, I'm the villain. All right, mailbag. Get those questions in. Hashtag Browns. Another one from He's Him. Armand Membo, the right tackle from Mizzou, he's going to go top 15. I don't think he's going to fall to 33. But, hey, it is dreams, so I can't stomp on your dreams. 100 years from now, we'll all be dead. This is true. Unless you are Sister Jean. She will not go anywhere. LeBron's immortal. Well, Kobe kind of gave him immortal vibes. Too soon? No. Dude, Kobe passed away in 2019? February 2019? Yeah. January, February? I remember being in my apartment in college. So, let's get to the mailbag now. I remember I found out from someone named Dirk on Twitter. Yeah. And I thought it was a troll. It's like, oh no. I think it's got some substance to it. So if you have any questions that come to your mind at the last moment, you can super chat like He's Him and others have done so far today. Or if you're unable to super chat, that's not a problem. Just use hashtag Browns in the chat. That way our software can pull the question and throw it on screen for everyone watching to see. So, are we ready to roll, Mr. Barkus? Here we go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here answering questions from our live show, which airs on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Our first question is coming in via Super Chat from Joshua Miller. 2025 draft sleeper Dante Thornton. This is the Tennessee receiver who averaged north of 20 yards of reception last year. He's a complete kind of home run type guy. He's a vertical threat. He had some drop concerns. I don't think you should take him any earlier than round 4. To me, he's a round 5 through 7 target. But the Browns do like to add speed to their receiver room. They've done that in free agency. Jakeem Grant, Marquise Goodwin. Maybe they go with more a homegrown one, but don't take one too early. Wink, wink, Anthony Schwartz. Luke, do you think the Browns trade back up or in the second round? I think it's more likely at pick 33 they take a tiny step towards round 1 versus a tiny step back. The reason being is it's not that great of a draft class. So you might want to go with the one great player over two good players, if that makes some sense. Luke, really appreciate your question, though. Next one coming in. We'll save that for later. P. Diddy. Who is Tyler Shuck? Never heard of this dude. So some background on him because he's gaining a lot of traction. I think he really first came to the scene when Mary Kay mocked the Browns trading back into round 1 to get him. And that was like an eye-opening of who the heck is this Louisville quarterback. So let's give you a little bit of background knowledge on the longtime college quarterback who is 25 years old. He turns 26 in September. Good size, 6'5", 220. Started off at Oregon backing up Justin Herbert, goes to Texas Tech, plays 3 seasons there, suffers season-ending injuries in all 3. Then he goes and plays one last season for Louisville, where he put on a really good resume for the draft with an awesome amount of arm talent, the ability to flick the wrist and just effortlessly throw the ball downfield. And we know teams are going to be, very passionate and gravitate towards quarterbacks who have great arm strength. I'm not seeing the hype. I'm not seeing the round 1, the round 2 hype. I think he's a day 3 quarterback. So I am not in on Tyler Shuck early on in the draft. Joseph, if you knew the Browns were not going quarterback with their first or second pick, who would you want them taking with their top 2 picks? If the Browns can walk away with either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, which they were guaranteed one of those 2 guys. Let's say Travis Hunter, though, because that's what the consensus is right now. To start round 2 at pick 33, or up to me, I'd go with either Omarion Hampton or Caleb Johnson. If one of those 2 guys is there, I'd love to get a new workhorse running back and then get a playmaker on offense and defense with Travis Hunter. I can get behind that, and I can walk away from the first 2 days of the draft going, hey, the Browns just got some real big impact players who can start and contribute as a rookie. Joseph, appreciate your question. Scott, the first 4 picks should be Travis Hunter, quarterback or left tackle, running back, then tight end. I'm with you on the Travis Hunter. I still have my concerns about his ability to play both ways, but at this point it feels like it's going to happen, so stop fighting it. As for quarterback, left tackle, I disagree. Will it be? Very well could be quarterback. Do I think it should be? Honestly, no. If it were up to me, I'd rearrange a little bit here, Scott. Here's what I do. Ready? Hunter first. Sure. I'd go running back, pick 33. It's a very good running back class. If Omarion Hampton or Caleb Johnson is still there, I think in a few years in a redraft, those guys are going to go in the first round guaranteed. But if you want to wait for Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins, okay. But I would not mind going Travis Hunter and then say Omarion Hampton. All right. Then I'd go quarterback with, you guys are not going to like this, Kyle McCord. And then tight end with Elijah Arroyo, the Miami tight end, or Mason Taylor, or Harold Fannin from Bowling Green. And then left tackle, it's a bad tackle class. So find someone you can in round 4, but I don't have high expectations for a tackle in this class that's not named Will Campbell or Armand Membu. Jeffrey, not sure about running back position. Maybe a trade with the Jets would work out, but I would still move up for, who is this right here, Jeffrey? Ashton Genty? There's some kind of emoji at the end, I'm saying. Orange cat whistle. Okay. So talking about trading up for Ashton Genty. Apparently the Panthers have some willingness to give up pick number 8. So if you're talking about picking someone at 2 and then jumping back into round 1, you're going to have to give up a future first-round draft pick. I would not do that. I do not want the Browns to leave this draft with no future first-rounder. To me, I don't really care who they get out of it. It's not going to be something I can give a thumbs up to. As for a trade with the Jets for Breece Hall, yeah, I can definitely get behind that. Obviously, for the right price and all, but some kind of day 3 pick swap of sorts, I'm in. Before we look at the other questions on today's mailbag, quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. We've lost Wi-Fi. Yeah. I've lost Wi-Fi. I don't think we're streaming. Are we streaming? I'm looking on my phone. Are we streaming? On my end, everything's frozen, saying trying to connect. Oh, we're streaming. Well, I'll talk about some bad radio. All right, here we go. In my defense, I've got the heebie-jeebies from last time. As I was saying, Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier, even for hard-to-get playoff seats. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. So if you want tickets to a Cavs game, a Guardians game, or any other sporting event in your area, make sure you check out Game Time. Last-minute deals at Game Time include saving up to 60% off last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and other events. So, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Next question coming in from Graham. Sorry about Hunter. Sorry, MB. Hunter or Carter, lock it in. Who will be starting quarterback next year? I don't know who the MB is, but I agree that it's going to be obviously Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at number 2. Starting quarterback, I think it's going to be Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco will be under center week 1, and I think Kenny Pickett and the rookie will be battling for QB2. It'll probably be Kenny Pickett, and then if Flacco starts to play poorly, they'll give Pickett the first opportunity, like in-game, and then during that week of practice, they probably turn it over to the rookie. You know what I mean? Like, let's say Flacco in like week 10 gets benched at halftime. They go to Pickett for the second half, and then on Wednesday they announce the rookie will be starting this week. That's my prediction for what the quarterback room kind of looks like next year. Roy from good old Germany. My push the offense 4-round mock. Second overall, Travis Hunter. 33rd best quarterback available. Let's just say Jackson Dart. Okay. 67th running back. Let's say Quinshawn Judkins. 96th tight end. Let's go with Elijah Arroyo. And 104th, another quarterback that's realistic. I could see Kyle McCord being around there. Will Howard. I think Will Howard's going to be a day 3 pick. I don't think he's going to go round 3. So I'll go with Will Howard right there. Roy, appreciate your question. And I don't dislike the idea of going with 2 quarterbacks in this class. You have 10 picks. Yeah, why not throw a dart in rounds 2 or 3 and another one in rounds 4 or 5? Christopher Stofira, draft is weak this year. No extreme talents. If you disagree, then who would you draft over Garrett if he was in this draft? Nobody. We need to look at this draft for backup positions mainly. You know, Chris actually has something here. Let's talk about just take the top of the draft. Abdul Carter is, for a lot of people, the number 1 prospect in this class. He's the number 1 prospect that has got some fair criticisms. He's a little bit on the slender side, around 250 pounds. So people have got some like core strength concerns. Like, can he win in a bull rush in the NFL, right? That's a fair concern to have for a guy that's supposed to be the number 1 prospect in this class. Take Travis Hunter, for example, right? He's a dual threat guy that we're not sure if that is really possible. That's a decent concern to have. Take Mason Graham. He's like looked at as the number 5 pick in this draft. He's got short arms, and for an interior guy, he doesn't flash a ton of huge pass rush potential. The player I'd say is probably the most confident in having a Hall of Fame type career, possibly, I'd say is Ashton Genty. It's not very common that it's a running back you put that much faith in. Quarterbacks, to me, aren't like all that, rock solid to say the least. I mean, look at just the top 5, top 10 players on Dane Brugge's big board. Jalen Walker's number 5. He's an edge rusher. He's a 6'1" edge rusher. 240 pounds. That's kind of small. I think he's even sub 240. this is a draft class that at the top, there are some fair concerns. And Christopher, you and I kind of, preached this back in January. It's not a great draft class. And this is what I was saying for the quarterback room. It's not a good time for the Browns to need a quarterback. And the quicker that people came to terms with that, the better. That way they didn't spend valuable resources and assets on a problem that just couldn't be fixed this offseason. And that sucks. But I'd rather fix other problems that could be addressed with the currency you have in picks and, cap space than forcing a solution that isn't going to work for the quarterback. So, Chris, I don't disagree. I don't think this will be a draft class that we look back at like the 2018 draft class, the 2011 draft class, with so many future Hall of Famers and Pro Bowl, All-Pro guys in round one. Probably not going to happen this year. Soul Train, NFL player comp to the guys rumored to be potential Browns players. I can't do one for Travis Hunter. There really is no one, right? Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter, I'm going to say Micah Parsons is kind of the low-hanging fruit one because they both went to Penn State. I'll take it one step further and go, what about a little Von Miller from the speed standpoint, right? That's what Abdul Carter kind of down. Now, Von, it was also a great bull rusher, too. It has lots of strength. But from that first step burst, I could see that comp being made. Who else? Jackson Dart. Gives me Gardner Minshew vibes. Shedeur Sanders gives me Geno Smith vibes. Jalen Milroe, I don't know what vibes he gives me. Someone who's not good. Yeah, don't have one. Caleb Johnson gives me faster David Montgomery vibes. Omarion Hampton gives me Nick Chubb vibes. Soul Train, hope that answers your question. Bruh. Armand Membu from Missouri, if he will even be there for number 33. Dream draft, at number 33. So I think the Jets could be, not the floor. The Bears, if the Jets go with like Tyler Warren, the Saints, maybe. He's a really good prospect. So I don't think he's going to get past the top 15. I'll say this. His absolute floor is the San Francisco 49ers at pick 11. Luke Roth, I want a lineman for the 33rd pick. It's not a good offensive line class. There's no center that's going to go in the top 50. There are very few guards who are going to go in the top 40. Tyler Booker from Alabama would probably be the only one. Donovan Jackson maybe from Ohio State. But there's no Quentin Nelson. There's no Joe Alt. There's none of those guys this year, right? So I just don't think it's an offensive line class that's worth the 33rd overall pick. I don't think any of these guys are going to amount to be really big special players with the exception of Will Campbell, I'd say. All right, before we move on, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy free Browns content, make sure you scroll on down and click that sub button so you can stay informed leading up to the NFL draft. Let's pick a card to wrap up. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Reed? Reed says 10 of hearts. I'm going to go with 7 of hearts. 10 of spades. 10 of spades. All right. That will do it for us on today's episode. Greatly appreciate everyone for hanging out with us and tuning in. If you have not yet, like that video on your way out. Wi-Fi is cheeks today. All right. We had a super chat come in, I think. A couple. Okay, let's recap these supers, and then I'll let you guys wrap up your Wednesday evenings. He's him, peppering the chat with a couple of supers. Am I Italian? I wouldn't say I'm glad you asked, but while we're on the subject, this is a TED Talk I get to give. I don't like when Americans pass themselves off as Europeans because of their great-grandparents. If your parents were born in that country and you grew up in that household, then that makes a level of sense. My grandma's grandma was born in Italy. I don't know how many steps removed that is, great that is, but No, I think my great grandma would be my grandma's mom. My grandma's grandma was, yeah. I'm not Italian because of that. I would not go to Rome and be like, brothers, I'm one of you. That to me is a stretch. And I think Italian Americans pull that string more than any other ethnic group in America with how far removed you were from a relative that was actually born in that country. If my parents, so if they were born in Italy, then yeah, I could say like I feel kind of like my parents. I grew up in an Italian household, but I know, but still, I feel like there'd be enough influence in that household. They'd be speaking Italian. We'd have a lot of Italian meals. I'd be able to connect more. I feel like that'd be like if you were a Browns fan because your dad was from Cleveland but raised you in L.A. a Browns fan, right? But Italian Americans, they love to do this with like, I'm Italian. Were you born there? No. Were your parents? No. Your grandparents? No. My great grandma was born there. You're not Italian, dude. I'm gonna tell you, you're from New Jersey. So, I consider myself American. If anything, I'm more Canadian than anything else because my mom's half of the family was all born in. My mom was born in Canada, so I've got a Canadian passport. But no, I'm not Italian. I'm American. You didn't answer if you think that we didn't answer that. You did not answer that. Did not ask that question. To be fair, so, but yeah, sure, why not? Okay. He said you're flying close to the sun here. It does not sound like a very Christian thing to say. Moving on to some other ones. You can put on screen. No, freedom of speech here as long as you really don't go overboard, but you're not going to make a lot of friends, he's in with this stuff here. Joshua Miller. Weakest overall draft class in the past decade. I still think that belongs to the 2022 class. Let's take a quick stroll down the 2022. No, I'm thinking the Kenny Pickett. Like, revisiting the Kenny Pickett draft, right? Trayvon Walker, first overall. Desmond Ridder was the second quarterback taken. Trayvon Walker, back-to-back 10-plus sack seasons. I don't think he's ever going to be a franchise-changing player for a team. Aiden Hutchinson, great. Derek Stingley, good. Derek Stingley, great last year. Sauce Gardner has kind of declined a little bit. Thibodeau, 5th? No. Ike Mekwonu, 6th? No. Evan Neal, 7th? No. Drake London, 8th? Drake London, 8th, is probably one of the best picks in this draft, actually. And he's a good receiver, but, like, he's not Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase good. Charles Cross, no. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, good. Jameson Williams, good. Jordan Davis, good. Kyle Hamilton at 14 is one of the best picks in this class. Kenyon Green, bad. Jahan Dotson, bad. Zion Johnson, bad. Traylon Burks, bad. Trevor Penning, bad. Kenny Pickett, bad. Trent McDuffie at 21, good. Quay Walker, okay. Kyrie Elam, bad. Tyler Smith, good. Tyler Lindenbaum, good. Jermaine Johnson got injured last year. Devin Lloyd, not first round. Devontae Wyatt, not first round. Cole Strange, bad. George Karlaftis at 30 is a top 5 pick in this class. Daxon Hill, bad. Lewis Seen, bad. How many times did I say bad for round 1? Not bad like bad pick. I mean bad player. I mean, generally speaking, Traylon Burks at 19, 18. He's a bad football player. That was a bad draft class. This one I think is above that, but it's not nearly as good as like 2011. Really quickly. Cam Newton, first overall. Von Miller, second overall. Marcel Darius, third overall. That's the first time where you'd probably swap it out with someone else. Can we agree? I don't think Newton or Miller would go in different places in a redraft. Fourth overall, A.J. Green. Pretty good, I'd say. Yeah. Fifth, Patrick Peterson. Sixth, Julio Jones. Julio Jones, future Hall of Fame. How about this? J.J. Watt, taken 11th overall. In a redraft, does he go even first or second? I don't think so. I think the Panthers still take Cam Newton, and I think Denver still takes Von Miller in a redraft. I think he'd go third to the Bills. Yep. So Julio Jones in a redraft doesn't even go top 3 in his own class. Yeah. Cam Hayward in a redraft. He was taken 31st that class. Does he go top 5? I don't think he goes ahead of Newton, Miller, Julio Jones, or J.J. Watt. He's right there with like Patrick Peterson and A.J. Green. That was a great draft class. Second round, notable names, Andy Dalton, Colin Kaepernick. Who else? Randall Cobb. There's some good players here that just didn't have Hall of Fame careers. Kyle Rudolph. Yep. Tim Green. Matt, when is the big day? It's coming. Congrats to you and Shay. Thank you, Tim. Big day is at the end of May, so very excited as we get closer and closer to it. But appreciate it. Thank you so much. Kind of getting that home stretch feel right now. So just getting all the last little things taken care of. Tonight, I think we're doing the seating chart, which I'm really excited for. Like, that's kind of the thing that's the most fun. You get to pick where everyone sits. That's fun. Oh, that's a good table. All right. Are we all caught up on supers? All right. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Chris, I'm a second generation born in U.S. on dad's side. I'm also so bad at family trees. It's been explained to me. No one explained to me because I already know that you're going to try and tell me it's super easy. I still don't really get what a second cousin is. And you can explain it to me, and I'll comprehend it for 5 minutes. And then when I walk out the room, I still won't get it. So that's going to do it for us. Oh, Kathy. While my grandma and grandpa spoke English, my dad and us can't. Kathy, dzień dobry, kochania. I grew up in a very Polish area, so I do speak a little Polish. I feel more Polish than Italian or Irish or Peterson Swedish, and I have no Polish blood in me whatsoever. I know more Polish than all those 3 languages, Italian and Gaelic and Swedish combined. And more Japanese, yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and for bearing with us during some Wi-Fi issues. We'll let you get back to the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see everyone later.